What are we talking about today? Tell the listeners.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
Yeah, Texas Forever. We've been talking about this subject for a while as a podcast subject because obviously everybody loves Friday Night Lights. It's been a best-selling book, a hit movie, a big show, a critically beloved show. And you know what James and I find fascinating about this story, all three iterations, is obviously it connects two of our great themes, right, which are sports and politics or class, or really it connects to politics in a lot of ways. But also, it's very interesting to see how this story has evolved over time. In 2025, when we're releasing this, it's now been 35 years since the book came out, 37 years since the season covered in the book, 21 years since the movie came out, and 14 years since the show actually went off the air. So it's been a while, and I think people have different associations of what Friday Night Lights means, what it's about. And I think in some ways, the more interesting stuff about the story has been lost. And James and I are here to reclaim that and really kind of get at what Friday Night Lights is about. Is that a fair description of this project, James?
Yeah, it's like somehow all three iterations of the story are misremembered and lumped together.
Yeah, I think it's also that they've all been lumped together. So they've all kind of
Yeah,
just
so they've
like,
all morphed. Yeah.
yeah, this, like when people think of Friday Night Lights now, like one simple way of thinking that is like the color people associate with Friday Night Lights is blue because that is the color of the team's uniforms in the show, and that is like what Kyle Chandler wears in his like iconic, the photo, the, like press photo of him and like the sidelines. But like the Permian Panthers wore black and white. That's like a big part of the
Mojo,
mythology.
baby.
Yeah, that's a big part of the mythology around them. And so that's just like one small detail, obviously, but that's just something about how this all gets kind of lumped together. And in an interesting way, a lot gets lost in that story. But this is gonna be a series of episodes, probably a trilogy, where we talk about. Today, we're going to focus on the book. I was going to say tomorrow, but in the next episode, we are going to talk about the movie, and then we're going to finish with the television series. But it's all part of one story. But we are going to kind of focus in on each iteration of that story in a probably very long episode.
Yeah.
So James, let's start by just saying like where is your exposure to Friday Night Lights? Where does it begin?
So I first watched the movie shortly after it came out. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but my two of my friends, they were twin brothers growing up. They had the DVD of the movie Friday Night Lights, and I would sleep over at their house a lot. And almost every time I did, we would watch Friday Night Lights. And so I've seen it a lot of times. I watched it with you. I've rewatched it. It's on cable all the time. I watch it then.
And when
I
was
have
the first time you read the book?
the book I read when I was in middle school. I forget exactly when, but I think I was in seventh or eighth grade. I think I read it after I read the Joe Torre book by Tom Vertucci.
Very different book, I think.
I was kind of like, man, they write these long books about sports. All right. So that puts it at like 2007 or 2008 or 08, 09, around there. And for a while, I thought I would like tell people it was my favorite book, but I definitely didn't understand it at the time. And I, sort of the memories of it blurred with the movie. And like, when I pictured these people, I pictured the movie
Yeah.
people. And, I would kind of be like, huh, that's a little different from the movie, but like not, I didn't really put everything together. But
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like the various, like all three iterations, right? The show was in some ways the least commercially successful. Like the book was a bestseller. It was on. I think it sold like 2 million copies over the length of its. I might be. I feel like what I saw, the 2 million number is taken from like the press around the movie, so that's like 20 years old at this point. So it's sold probably more than that. But it was a bestseller for a long time. The movie made like $50 million, 60, $80 million, something like that. The show was like constantly on the verge of being canceled, and like the last few seasons aired on like direct TV or something. It's not like it was not a hit, but it did win a bunch of awards. But sort of the way that like mass media works now. TV just has this like never ending shelf life, and people consume it constantly on Netflix or Peacock or wherever the hell it's streaming now. And so like it's lasted the longest and in some ways come to dominate a lot of it. Like I think if you say somebody like, "Oh, I love Friday Night Lights," I think most people will first think of the TV show. Whereas yeah, like for me, I was exposed to the movie first. I only read the book a few years ago for the first time, and the show I watched when it came on, and I liked the show. I thought it was really good, but I don't know why that has like dominated. Maybe it's just recency bias. Um,
Yeah, the book, as you noted, was very commercially successful. It's the reason why Buzz Bissinger is like a sort of mini celebrity now, and well known. But you said it sold over 2 million copies. I wonder how many of those are just Father's Day gifts that were never opened. I'm willing to believe so. As many as 1.9 million of those 2 million were such
See,
cases.
yeah, I mean Buzz Bissinger, who we'll talk about a little more in a second, but he's said that he doesn't think a lot of, especially people who were critical of the book, he doesn't believe that they read it because a lot of the people. But I do think it was successful, and I do think most people in any list of like best sports books, this is up there for the most part, and it is really good, as we're going to get to in a second. But before we get to the specifics of the book and the specifics of Buzz, I do want to just hit on why I think it's important to divide the story up, because how it evolves from that book to the movie to the TV show, at every step it becomes slightly more fictionalized and sanitized in a very particular kind of way and turned into a more Hollywood version of the story. So that 36 years after the season that's covered in the book, they're thinking of the Hollywood version of the story, which isn't to insult the movie or the TV show, both of which are good, but it's just a revealing look at how certain types of conflicts get sanded down until they fit into a nice, neat, classical liberal framework of individuals overcoming the odds. And it's funny to think of one of the criticisms Buzz Bissinger got when this book came out from the people that he covered who didn't like it, in that town in Texas, in Odessa. They they said that he misled them because he told them he was going to write like a Hoosiers style narrative about the football team. And he said, I went in with that intention to write a Hoosiers, but that's like not what I saw. And I had to write what I saw. And so, like, I think in the mass memory of the book is a Hoosier style narrative at this point, because of the movie and the TV show have turned this into sort of a like underdog triumphs against the odds, which is like very much at odds with what the story actually is. Cause like the football team were not underdogs and they don't really triumph, but like there's this like, again, this sort of commercial version of the story that is now what people assume. And it's a testament to the power of television that so many people have watched this show, which is the most Hollywood version of the story. Frankly, it is the one where, like, again, they're not wearing the black and white. A lot of the racial and class conflict that is sort of inherent to the story gets removed. It's fictionalized in the most obvious sense that like the people are not real people. Like the the real people covered in the book are named in the movie, and it is a slightly fictionalized version, but it's totally fictionalized in the show. They don't have they're different. The town is different. The characters are different. Like everything about this football team is fictional. They don't purport to be depicting a real season, whereas the book and the movie are both like quote unquote based on a true story.